Welcome back, everybody. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage making a video for you today. This is the most recent sewing machine that I have purchased, and I chose to get this machine, and I have to be totally honest, because of the sewing table. Sewing tables that I've covered in my videos in the past, all of you know how amazed I am at their quality, and when it comes to style, that's very subjective. So I love all the styles. I love the traditional styles, the Art Deco styles, and this one is a mid-century. This is a late 1950s, maybe early 60s, 61 table. Although the machine that came with it, and it's the original, is late 50s, so we'll call it that. Any of you who study furniture styles know that they've always changed with the times, and when we get into the 1950s, we get into what today is often referred to as mid-century modern, and you can tell this because it's it's much more minimal. There's not a ton of decoration, and the legs are very minimal, right? They're not heavy and chunky. They're fairly narrow and tapered. And it almost looks like it's floating. And this table, by the way, is heavy. So I'm really impressed with the construction quality. It doesn't wiggle or wobble around. It's incredibly strong, and it took a lot of good engineering to make furniture do this, especially when you realize how heavy it is. Now, the blonde coloring was also very popular. There was a big movement in Scandinavian furniture, which also kind of pushed a move away from dark colors. Any of you who've decorated your house long enough know that trends and styles will come and go. One style will be in for a while, and then all of a sudden someone says, "Oh, we don't want that. We want something else." Well, I like all of them. So, but I really like this table. I'm going to show you shortly why I bought it, why I found it special and amazing to me. I've never come across one in the 9 years I've been hunting for sewing machines and their tables. But that doesn't mean it's rare, just because I've never seen it. And so sometimes we fall prey to the notion that, hey, this must be rare because I've never seen one. Apparently they do exist. I suspect it was a fairly expensive model, and when you see me demonstrate the table in shortly, you'll know why. Now, the machine that came with it is currently out of the table. I like to sometimes, I take them out for different reasons. I will be restoring this machine on my bench, and so I'll have it out. Some of you, maybe you can make this out. Those of you who know vintage machines well, you can see through. I have a dust cover on it at the moment, and it's kind of a frosted cover there. But if you look really closely, I'll zoom in for you. Take a guess. It's got oyster white and light beige coloring. We'll shift our angle here just a minute. That is a Singer 400 class machine. And in this case, it's the Singer 403 Slant-O-Matic. It is the middle child, if you will. Singer, when they launched their line of 400 series, they had the 401 or 401A. And that machine had all the bells and whistles. My uncle bought one for my aunt back in those days, and it was pretty expensive. I remember him telling me they made payments on it. So you can imagine going into the dealership and getting sticker shock. Remember, people didn't buy sewing machines every year. They could go a whole generation before they got a new one in the family. And you can just imagine people's jaws dropping when they heard how expensive it was. But of course, Singer was a smart marketer and retailer of sewing products, and they didn't want you to leave, so they had different models. They had the 404, which was a straight stitch only. It looked very similar, but it just did one stitch, and that, of course, would have been less costly. It would have been less costly to make. The 403 would kind of split the difference. It's a straight stitch machine until you add cams, and I'll be talking about the cams when I demonstrate the machine later on. So one thing I'll do here is I'm going to take off the cover and reveal what many of you probably already recognize. And of course, this was Singer's big splash. They had introduced slant needle or slant shank machines with the Singer 301 in 1951. And they continued that style with a number of machine series that would come after. This is the 400. They would do the 500 series, which was mostly the same except for some different body styling and a few other differences, things like the bobbin winder, etc. And then they would even use similar components, the drive shafts, the gearing, and the motors for things like the 600 series. And that gets into when we start moving into the Singer Touch and Sew, but that's a video for another time. The next time I get a Touch and Sew, I'll do a video on those. They're kind of the last technological innovation and last gasp of Singer when they were still doing metal machines, and it would only last into the early 60s. But just a few things to show you guys. I've done separate videos on sewing machine attachments and feet, and I believe I covered shank, but I thought I would show this to you. What you're looking at, these are rolled hammerfoot. Some people call them felling feet. And my hands and fingers are too large to ever use these. I can't do it. Some of you can, and they make wider versions of this that are easier to use. So the 403 that you see in front of you has a slanted, or what's called a slant shank, okay? Just as a reminder, the shank is, think of it as the ankle to the foot, right? And the shank is what attaches to your presser bar. And this one is slanted. And the shank is slanted because when the needle comes down, it comes in 10 degrees off of perpendicular, and it comes towards you, right? So the needle, it doesn't really, it's kind of hard to illustrate here. If I turn the machine sideways, you'll see this. Now you can see the 10 degrees off of perpendicular. Now this, at first glance, it kind of seemed, when I first heard about these, I thought, okay, that was just some gimmick they came up with. Actually, it wasn't a gimmick. Like many features that we start to see in home sewing machines over the decades, slant shanks were originally used in industrial machines. And I think one of the theories was it makes it easier for the sewer to see what they're doing. I don't know. Those of you who have these machines, you can comment if you would. Let us know if you think that's true. I don't sew enough to honestly even have an opinion on that. But Singer went to a great deal of effort because when you look in the little side compartment, you see that the needle bar and the presser bar are both at that slanted angle. So they went to a great deal of effort to do it. And it was a successful line starting from the 300 all the way to the 600. They had decades of really good sales with this as a feature. So I've got the 403. What was I trying to do? Oh, I was wanting to show you guys. I showed you the slant shank. You can see it's at an angle. It's higher also compared to a low shank. Low shank is the most common of the sewing foot styles. Most sewing machines in the world use low shank. There are others, high shank, super high. Bernina has their own feet. Super high was a Kenmore shank. But this is the slant shank, and Singer made a whole portfolio of feet in this style. So they went all in when they did this. Now, I was mentioning to you before, if you got the 401A, you had the Cadillac, you had the most expensive and most complex machine you could buy from Singer in 1957, I believe, 56, 57. And let's say you went in and you thought, God, I can't afford that 401A. My Lord, that is so expensive. And maybe you said, well, I've already got a straight stitch machine. And well, yes, but what if you could afford to bump up to the middle machine? What's the middle? The middle machine, the one you see here, the 403, makes a straight stitch. That's all it does until you add cams. There's a little hatch on top. You open it up and you see a place for a cam. These cams were made of a hard plastic. People sometimes call them top hat cams because they look like a black top hat from another era when people used to wear men used to wear top hats. Now, the cam that is currently in the machine is the most often used and the most important. This is cam 0, and it has the ability to do a zigzag stitch. When you put that cam in and you make adjustments on the machine, and when I demonstrate the machine later and I debut it, I'll show all that to you guys. But for the moment, it's important to know that if you wanted to do even zigzag, you needed the cam. And those cams are plastic, but they're not put under high strain, and so I've never had a broken one. I think you'd be more likely to break one of these if you stepped on it than you used it. So this is an all metal machine, even though, you know, like I say, knobs and levers have plastic covers, and even this cam, which looks like a gear, there's actually all of the drivetrain of the machine has like a little follower, and this cam will spin. I'll try to do that in my debut video and show you guys how it works if you're new to these. But again, the cams themselves are not a high stress point, which is great. So let's say you went into the dealer and they said, yes, but look, you can have all of the convenience of the 401, but you don't have to pay as much. Why is that? Well, that is because whenever you do something and you make it automated, such as the machine, the 401A that was one level above, when you buy the one that has so much built in, most of the decorative stitches were built into the 401. There were a few extra cams you could get. That convenience came at the price of complexity. And a 401 or a 500, which are almost the same machine, they have, oh boy, they really have a complex set of mechanisms that allow them to perform all of those extra stitches for you. Because remember, there's not a computer directing the machine how to do it. It's having to do it mechanically when you as the sewer would make certain setting adjustments. And so they're more complex, they're much more expensive to build. This machine has a similar drivetrain to the straight stitcher, except the cam allows it to make decorative stitches, but without the same complexity. Now it's more complex than the 404, which is a straight stitch machine. I was thinking about doing a video for those of you who are new to restoring machines and making some recommendations on machines you might want to choose as your first to restore. And if you have a choice, it would be a straight stitch Singer, but I will explain that in a future video. So I wanted to show you guys, here it is. I've shown you machines that I've gotten before, but this is the 403. I'm excited about it, and it might just be the machine I want to keep for myself. I have said that many times, and in this case, it's not because this machine has the prettiest finish. It's mostly dirty. There are a few little scratches, but it's mostly just covered in dirt. You can see here, which it's not clean or pretty, but that's okay. A lot of old sewing machines come that way. It's nice if they don't, but very often they do. That's usually when they're being sold, and that's okay. So I'll be making some more videos on this machine as we go through. I think I have 1 or 2 videos of a 400 because I've restored many of these in the past. I just haven't had one in a while, and I restored quite a few of them before I ever started making videos. So don't have videos of those, but I think I have one that I may have made. But we'll try to go into a little more detail as to what makes these machines so amazing, and also what can make them a little confusing to you if you're new to them. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This is my latest find. I'm having a hard time finding as many machines as I'm used to because the demand has gone up dramatically since all of the pandemic shutdowns have occurred. So and I'm down to, I only have one machine left that's a domestic family machine that has been restored and available. It's my Treadle 15-30. I'm down to one. I can't remember the last time I only had one in my inventory. They've been flying out of here because not everyone, many people want to sew, and they've been looking for old machines, which is understandable in these times. So there you go, the Singer 403. It was not the fanciest, but it was the middle the middle trim level, if you will, of Singer's brand new late 50s sewing machines. And it is no slouch, as you will see as we go through it. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. I am going to make, in the next video, you're going to see, I'm going to talk specifically about the table and not about the machine. We'll have more videos on the machine coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. This is my latest. If you have a Singer 400 series, feel free to comment below. Tell me what you love about it. Tell me what you don't. All machines have their pros and their cons, and we'll talk about that more as we make videos here. But look forward to making more videos on this machine, but stay tuned for the next one where I'm going to show you this amazing table and why I really, really like it. Stay tuned, and we will see you in the next video.